welcome to the Georgia Peach Symposium. Let me tell you something. I hope you got your seatbelt on because we have one of the most dynamic leaders in Gwinnett County. Just a breath of fresh air in the person of Dr. Wendy Taylor. Dr. Taylor, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you.
Yes,
I appreciate you inviting me.
So glad to have you again. This is not our first rodeo.
It is not.
You know, they say if it works, do it again.
Do it again.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
So we're here to do it again. I want to kind of give our viewers a little bit of a backdrop of who you are. Dr. Wendy Taylor, first and foremost, she is a doctor by way of a PhD. She's an educator, okay? And she is a scientist of the mind of education and raising children and giving them curriculums and understanding how they move through the matrix of education. Mm-hmm. And so you've done a fine job on that. Tell me a little bit about your journey.
Okay, absolutely. Well, I have been in education now for 23 years. Okay. In fact, I started a different career when I started out. I was in corporate America for 15 years. Changed careers to education, went back to school, and then I retired in 2016 from Gwinnett County Public Schools as a school principal. But obviously, education doesn't stop for me. So the first thing I did was start up a new company and went into consulting, and I'm still consulting to this day. But in the meantime, you know, I have done other things. For example, I have been appointed to several boards. One board being the Board of Registrations and Elections here in Gwinnett County.
That's good stuff.
Yes, and that's been keeping us very busy. I'm sure we can segue into some of that.
Absolutely.
Also have been appointed to the Board of Directors for the Gwinnett County Libraries, and I am the vice chair of both of these boards. I also am I'm on the National Advisory Board of a nonprofit organization called Preface, which is focused on early literacy for children, particularly on second languages. So I'm always busy as it pertains to education and children and, you know, doing what's in the best interest of our community.
Well, wow, you truly, there's no grass growing under your feet. You're a trailblazer. And I know that, but I didn't know some of these boards that you were actually chairing on. I mean, that's just amazing. Not that I'm surprised, but I definitely know that whatever board that you're on and wherever you advise and be a vice chair or chair, you're going to bring the best and most relevant model of business and mindset of doing it and doing it right. I know you're the type of person who moves in a spirit of excellence that I know firsthand and close up, having had the opportunity to work with you and your husband. I know you are very, very, you're flexible, but you like things done the correct way. And so I honor you in being an educator and being a principal because, you know, that's essential. We during the pandemic, we use the term essential workers, but it's essential for our children to have education and to be able to matriculate in a way that makes sense for that child to learn. Absolutely. So talking about the learning model, let's talk a little bit about the differences. And are there different ways to teach, to administer education or to dispense the educational curriculum, or do we have to, is it pigeonholed that everybody has to learn the same way?
Oh, absolutely not. None of us learn the same way. Absolutely not. But one of the things I think that's been really a challenge, we know what COVID-19 has done to everyone as far as changing how we actually do everything.
Yes.
And the schools have not escaped that reality. So even before COVID, there are always challenges in how to best meet the needs of each and every child. And there's this focus on understanding the difference between equality and equity. There is a difference. Equality is where everybody gets the same thing.
Help us understand.
And that is okay. Everybody gets the same thing when it's equal. But equity is each person getting what they need to succeed. And that could look different from one child to the other child to the other child. We have children who are in high needs areas, like high poverty areas, and their foundations aren't established enough to prepare them to be ready for school. So they may need more when they get to school, as opposed to some kids who honestly, like my granddaughter. Right now, I am watching my 3-year-old granddaughter, and of course, the education in me, educator in me, is always going to be teaching. But she is reading already, and she knows how to write, and she knows her name and colors and address, and all of those things I'm able to give her because I can. I want that same opportunity for all kids, regardless of where they are. And so that's why the difference in everybody's getting the same and everybody getting what they need to succeed is the difference between equality and equity. And as COVID has hit the schools, and I have to admit, I'm sure and I know it's such a challenge for educators now in light of COVID. Nobody knew what to do. It was building the plane while we were flying it kind of thing.
Oh my.
So when COVID hit last year, about this time, last March, when everything just shut down.
You said building the plane while we fly.
Yes, that is pretty much how it was. Because this was something so new, so different, and people were operating out of fear, the unknown. It was just spreading, so we sheltered in, shuttered in, everybody quarantined, and then they went to computers. Now kids had to learn from computers. Well, every child didn't have a computer. Every child, even if they had a computer, didn't have internet. And in some homes, you may have 5 students. They don't have 5 computers. You know, teachers were having to learn on the fly, just how do I switch from teaching you in person to teaching you across a screen? You know, how do special needs children who have, you know, different disabilities learn through a screen? So it's been quite a journey. It's been quite a challenge as they have been navigating the best way to do this after school started up again. Parents had the choice as to whether or not their children could go in person or stay at home. They kind of started to perfect Zoom a little bit. And many parents made the choice to stay at home at first, and eventually several of them started going into schools. But that's a challenge for teachers too. They aren't, my daughter is a teacher, and she's now teaching in person and Zoom at the same time. Simultaneously. And I think people really don't understand how difficult of a challenge that is. Simultaneously. She have her, what they call Zoomies. She may have 12 students on Zoom and another 10 or 12 in the classroom physically. And as she's masked up and trying to keep them distanced and masked and teaching and all of this, I mean, I really do not understand. I think people do not understand the challenge all of this has brought. And so when teachers, they were heroes in the spring because they finished off the year coming to visit kids at homes, bringing things to them, trying to celebrate them. And then it became, you need to go back to work, you know? And so it's just been a challenge, and many of them did, and many of them have, you know, concerns about their own health as well. Even if students or children don't readily contract COVID as at a highest rate as adults, they were concerned about their own health and their own families and taking it back into their families. So that's an ongoing battle. The good news, I guess, is really good news, is that we do have a vaccine that's becoming, you know, it's this race towards stay healthy while the vaccine's coming, you know, and still try to do life as best as they possibly can.
It's a tough place to be in, and we're going to go back over. We're going to take a station break,
Okay.
and we're going to go into a little bit more of the nuances. I can't let you know that I'm so excited enough that you're here and that you're sharing your life and your journey with us. Stay tuned, visitors, my guests, for the Georgia Peace Symposium. We're just so glad that you've decided to tune in to us, and we are going to take a station break, but we will be right back. God bless you really, really good.
OcuPrep Training Solutions is a training and staffing organization whose mission it is to prepare the next generation of entry-level allied health professionals. OcuPrep offers in-house certification programs for multiple healthcare professions. If you're looking for a fulfilling career in the eye care, ear care, dental, or dialysis professions, www.ocuprep.com to discover which opportunity is right for you.
Body symmetry, we go on the inside and we get metabolically, hormonally, on a cellular level, and get everything optimized and balanced.
There's nobody like you on the face of the planet. So we need to treat you and tailor a program to you that is special to you.
It just gets me so excited. And so it's just, I run on passion. And I run on passion off of the fuel that I get from people's results. And it's powerful.
There aren't many lawyers that can offer in their practice trilingual services in a multiple of disciplines, and that's what we offer here. I felt it was important, given the demographics of this community, to be able to service as many people as possible, because there are some people that are underserved, that are not represented, that don't have access to strong legal services for a variety of reasons. I've been a lawyer for 32 years. I've been blessed to be able to practice around the world. I'm attorney C.K. Hoffler, and I refuse to be denied.
Everybody deserves a simple, decent place to live.
And that's what life is all about, is creating hope for tomorrow.
That hope is what we all need.
Everything is different about our lives now. A thank you isn't enough.
I've been able to focus on our future. I've been able to breathe. You know, what Habitat does, it empowers communities and creates strong families and strong communities.
Listen, welcome back to the Georgia Peach Symposium. We are having a dynamic conversation. I tell you, I've moved from information to revelation just by sitting here talking to my great friend, Dr. PhD, Dr. Wendy Taylor. Dr. Taylor is, once again, we've been talking about the nuances of school and education. And so as you start talking about school, I went back into my mind to 1200 Lincoln Street. 1200 Lincoln Street in Greensboro, North Carolina, there is a school called James B. Dudley High School, the high school that I attended, that my mom attended, that my parents attended, that my aunties and uncles attended. It's the school. It is like an icon. Mm-hmm. But the reality of the situation, it was the black school. It was the school that all people of color had to go to. Mm-hmm. They couldn't go at one point to other schools. It wasn't allowed. Right. And so one of the things that I've always taught, my children were taught by me and their mother, that was the word option. We always told our children, you have options, okay? When you go to the restaurant, doesn't matter if we go to whichever restaurant, whichever one, you name it, they've gone to all of them. But they were always able to order whatever they wanted to order from the menu. Right. It didn't mean if it was lobster, calamari, steak, I didn't care, hamburger. You know, I was hoping they was gonna get some chicken fingers because that was easy on my pocket, okay? But they would always want the high end. But I would say you can get whatever you want, but you have to eat it. Mm-hmm. And so I believe, and so they grew up that way because I kind of have that same mindset. I want my options. I don't want to be told I can't have something, but it's available for someone else. What makes me disqualified for it when I meet the same criteria? And so there's an elephant in the room that is being addressed now in the United States of America in a very dark time. We went through a dark season. It was all on the news. It was plastered all over the national news, where we dealt with some race issues and issues of racism and racial disparities. And so now we're starting to see some changes that come about. And I tell you, everybody has been emancipated from the proclamation, but there was one group that had not been emancipated. That was women. That was minority women were not emancipated to the degree that you all were able to have the same options and the same eat from the same menu table that we all. And so now I'm starting to see some change. So let's speak to the issue of education and racism and opening those options. Let's talk about your book. You've got a book here. I'm loving this book, and I've got to get down into it and really, and they said, a lot of it's on the cover. So let's speak to that. How do we address that issue?
Okay, well, I appreciate the question. And, we just finished talking about COVID and the year everybody shut down, and last year when everybody had to be sheltered in.
Yes.
My husband and I took that opportunity. We were sheltered in anyway. We were having to just look at each other. I was like, we have to have something else to do.
Just waking
so
up.
as two educators, we started writing, and we started framing what we saw around us, what we have experienced in our own lives as far as our educational journey, and what we were beginning to see happen right in front of us. And then, like you said, later on during the summer, a lot of other issues started to happen, and that's why the book is actually talking about when a pandemic collided with racism. Because 2020 was a year of a collision.
It really was.
We were dealing with a lot of real issues that came about, and it was like an explosion. And
But a year of clarity, 2020 vision. It was
and
a
in
year of
fact, that's
clarity.
exactly what we talked about. It was 2020 vision all of a sudden. Suddenly, a lot of things were unveiled. Suddenly, people were able to see things that maybe they knew were there. It was maybe covert, it was kind of undercover, it was hidden. Well, this explosion really just revealed what was really there, and people had to face it.
The elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room. And this is racism that have existed for most of the years I've ever known. This is, we call it systemic racism because it is so embedded in all of the systems that exist in our society. When we talk about systems, we're talking about the educational system, the judicial system, our employment system, housing, banking, our healthcare systems.
But can I interrupt you for a minute?
Sure.
I heard Rashad just a few days ago, and on his program, he mentioned when you talk about systems, systems are people. They're really people that
Yes.
are involved with those systems.
Exactly.
So speak back to you.
So these are structures that are run by specific people who can help to perpetuate what we already have in place. So let's, for example, use housing. People may have heard of redlining back in the day, and it's not to say it doesn't still exist, but what that was, it essentially was, you have a black family completely qualified to purchase a home in a particular area that they have found that home that they would like
Met
to
the
live in.
requirement.
Right. And yet were denied the loan primarily because it was already on a list that said we cannot let black people move into this area.
My.
Right. So bankers, the system that was primarily run by white males, had this list, and they would make these decisions based on race. And that's where you get into a system that is continually perpetuating a mindset of control.
Let me stop you. I remember one of my college professors came in the room one day, and he asked us a question, the students. He said, if you wake up from your sleep and there's an elephant in the room, how do you eat it? And we were all dumbfounded. And he looked at us, he said, you eat it one slice at a time.
Yep.
How do we slice up this elephant?
I think one of the very first things we have to do is acknowledge it. We can no longer deny that systemic racism does exist.
That's real.
That it is real. That it is not just something
Now, is that pointing fingers at anyone, but are you just saying just acknowledge it?
It is real. We have to, in fact, you know, some organizations, as a result of a lot of what happened in the summer of 2020, when a lot of people became clear-eyed and could see the reality that, oh, we have a dual system here. If this person does this and this person does this, they're not treated the same for the same offense, for the same crime. They're not treated the same. They're not provided equal opportunities. Some people don't get a job because of maybe how their name is, you know? And there are people in those systems that can say, oh, well, I think I don't want to hire that person. I don't think that's a good fit. These are things that are real. And we can no longer just throw crumbs at it. We can no longer just throw bandages and put them on a gaping wound.
It's like the wife in the house with her husband saying, no, we're going to deal with this.
We're going to deal with this. But you have to first believe and acknowledge and be aware that it does exist. And then you have to address it. James Baldwin had a great quote where he said, not everything faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced.
Oh my.
And so that's what we have to do. And that change has to start at the top and at the root. Okay?
That's like building the plane while you're flying.
Absolutely.
She said, don't just start at the... So some people say start at the bottom, and then some people say start at the top. You said, no. We're going to do them both.
This is not new to us. We have been through the civil rights. I grew up that way. You were talking about the school you attended. I did not attend an integrated school until I was in high school. I went all the way through all of my primary, middle, until I hit high school. And then we were forced to, at that time, you know, like everybody else, Brown versus Board of Education had been passed long ago, but that did not mean that states complied willingly. They did not. They resisted. So I was part of all of that as well. I can remember having the National Guard at our school for nearly a year, for protection, just because of riots, just because of discord. Before my first year of integration in that school, we went through 3 principals.
Let me say this to you. I'm going to have to bring you back. Yeah, I'm going to have to bring you back because we're doing surgery. And we're, in order to be able to change a thing, we got to get to the heart of it. And we're going to come, I'm going to take a station break.
Okay.
But this can't be done in a one segment. This is a series. Listen, folks, I want to thank you all for tuning into this because we're starting from the top, as my dear friend said, and the bottom, and we're going to come right in the middle, and we're going to create a focal point to give us that 2020 vision, and we're going to be better for it. I can guarantee that. God bless you. Thank you for tuning into the Georgia Pete Symposium. God bless you real good.
OcuPrep Training Solutions is a training and staffing organization whose mission it is to prepare the next generation of entry-level allied health professionals. OcuPrep offers in-house certification programs for multiple healthcare professions. If you're looking for a fulfilling career in the eye care, ear care, dental, or dialysis professions, www.ocuprep.com to discover which opportunity is right for you.
Body symmetry. We go on the inside and we get metabolically, hormonally, on a cellular level, and get everything optimized and balanced.
There's nobody like you on the face of the planet. So we need to treat you and tailor a program to you that is special to you.
It just gets me so excited. And so it's just, I run on passion. And I run on passion off of the fuel that I get from people's results. And it's powerful.
There aren't many lawyers that can offer in their practice trilingual services in a multiple of disciplines, and that's what we offer here. I felt it was important, given the demographics of this community, to be able to service as many people as possible because there are some people that are underserved, that are not represented, that don't have access to strong legal services for a variety of reasons. I've been a lawyer for 32 years. I've been blessed to be able to practice around the world. I'm attorney C.K. Hoffler, and I refuse to be denied.
Everybody deserves a simple, decent place to live.
And that's what life is all about, is creating hope for tomorrow.
That hope is what we all need.
Everything is different about our lives now. A thank you isn't enough.
I've been able to focus on our future. I've been able to breathe. You know, what Habitat does, it empowers communities and creates strong families and strong communities.
Welcome to the Georgia Pete Symposium. I have one of the most dynamic guests. Listen, we are in here having a dynamic conversation. We're dealing with the elephant in the room, and we've actually addressed the elephant. We're carving up the elephant, and we're slicing it up, one slice and dice at a time. So segue back into my guest. So here we are. We've acknowledged that there is a problem. And I
Yes.
think it was your recommendation, Dr. Taylor, that it starts with acknowledgement, that we have to acknowledge that there is a problem, okay? And now I guess the question now becomes, in this short segment that we're in, in terms of, in terms of, for me, I remember at one point I had 10 eye care locations, and I remember helping my staff to understand that the leadership and the personnel should reflect the citizens in that community. So if we're in a Hispanic community, somebody in my staff needs to be able to speak Spanish. Okay, so how do we now start to address people in upper level management and education? We've always had black educators, but now I want to see them go up top tier. How do we now start to deal with that? Because little Johnny and little Lucy needs to see somebody on that level. It's happening in Gwinnett. We're modeling that, but I want to speak to it a little bit.
Okay,
Tell me about it.
absolutely.
Got a minute or two.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you brought it back to the education piece, because that's exactly, this has a lot of pieces in it because it can apply to any of our institutions, but primarily, my focus is education. And this may not be a lot of people may not be aware, but across America, the average teacher, okay, is white, female, middle class, English speaker. In fact, 80% of the teachers in America are that. And so that's a reality. And so we have, though, a minority group of students that are sitting in their classrooms. So what that poses...
Is that changing?
It's very slowly. And not really, because in 1950 it was 87%, and now we're still at 82%. Or
it's not changing.
Not really. So here's what the issue is. So what that is creating, and so this is not any disparagement toward teachers, whether they're white or not. That is just a fact that 80% of teachers in America and in certain pockets of the area, even in Gwinnett County, are white, female, English speakers. As diversified as we are, yet we have minority students. Over 50% of the students that will be sitting in front of them are not. So what that creates what we call a culture gap. This is not about race per se. This is about cultures.
I'm gonna bring you back.
Okay.
Before I bring you back, I'm gonna read the book.
That'll be good.
I'm gonna read the book.
Okay.
I'm gonna buy the book, and I'm gonna read the book. And when I read it, we're gonna go into it on a deeper level. Listen, Dr. Taylor.
Yes.
With that busy life, thank you so much for coming in and being a blessing to my citizens. Thank you so much to Georgia Peace Symposium. God bless you real good.